What's up, fellas? It's Ken Sr. I got a little boo-boo here. You know what the best part of your latest injury is? Well, it makes you forget about the last one. I didn't tell you guys, but I had to get x-rays last month because I thought I broke my leg in between two bikes, and now that barely bothers me at all, man. So I just got out of the shower. I'm like a wet rat here, but I was thinking, reflecting over my life. I just hit a bit major milestone, 59 years old, and not too many of my people in my family lived much longer than that because they all drank and smoked and did stupid shit, and I've lost a lot of friends along the way. And I just wanted to share with you some of my experience, strength, and hope that I've gained, a little bit of wisdom from all the mistakes I've made over the years. And I see some young riders saying that they're done, they're quitting, they're done riding because of an injury or the thought of getting injured. And I myself, probably a dozen times through the injuries I have said, I'm done, I quit. The first major one I had, first major crash when I was about 5 years old. I whiskey throttled a brand new 8 horsepower mini bike and crashed pretty hard. Didn't get that bad of the injury, just road rash. Fast forward another 10 years of riding, and I had just come off of winning 4 motos at Celtic at the national track as July 4th weekend. I smoked everybody by a long shot, by like 30 seconds, and moved up to B class. I was real pumped, and I was excited about going to that next level. And there was some fast riders that went on to be multi-time champions and national championships that I was racing against back then in NESC. Guys like Pat Barton and John Dowd, Mike Treadwell, the real legends, JoJo Keller, guys back in that day. And I was pumped because I had my yellow plates and I was going to go do my first B ride the following weekend. And at that point at 15, I had started drinking and smoking marijuana a few years before that. When I was like 12, I had an older brother. So I was already on the wrong path with that stuff. And if you know my story, I've been clean and sober since August 26th of 91. My sobriety date is December 24th of 91, due to a little relapse at that point. But I drank a quart of Colt 45 and smoked a joint, and I was riding my 100 at my favorite practice track, and my grip came off going over a big jump. But I think it was because I was under the influence. That's what I'll blame the crash on. And I snapped my leg completely right in between these latest 2 injuries right here. Snapped the tib and fib completely in half. And I was on crutches for the rest of that summer. And that pretty much put me on a bad path for a little while. Came back in 82, got an RM 250, and cartwheeled going into a corner at Lanesboro. And put this finger right here. This I call this my French tickler. I can't even pick my nose with it, but yeah. I just went through a sprocket, and I got a foot peg tore my ass cheek so badly they couldn't sew it up. It was just like a big gash on my ass cheek, and then it just happened to another rider last year, Dean Wilson, I think. I don't know, but in any event, this finger got infected, and I don't know if you ever had a bone infection, but I almost died. It was like 103.6 degree temperature, and I thought I was going to die. I couldn't. All I could do was look straight forward because I moved my eyes to the left or right. I feel like my head would explode, and I ended up spending a week in the hospital and getting multiple surgeries. And the fingernail grew back, but it looks a little funny. These are just some of the injuries. It's not really about the injuries. It's about the comeback. It's about rebuilding better. It's about my favorite verse in the Bible, one of them, Romans 8:28. God works all things for good. So if you're on the right track and you're not drinking and smoking and doing stupid stuff, and you're focusing and trying to be a good person, somehow you'll come back better and stronger, whether it's in the sport of your choice or the business or whatever it is in life. If you have faith, perseverance, and you work hard, you can rebuild. Then in 84, I injured myself actually running. I tore my cartilage, but what really put me over the edge in 84 was I got blackout drunk and well, that's the last thing I remember. And my friend Billy Mansell that I was with, he blacked out too because he didn't remember who drove home, but my car was parked right out in the front door on the lawn, and my leg was stuck. I couldn't move my knee. I ended up getting surgery, lost my ACL and a third of the cartilage in that knee. That was the next big injury that I thought was a career-ending injury. And I went on to do literally thousands of races and win 16 championships, 11-round series championships in New England motocross. With my last one was 2015 at New England Sports Committee in the 50+ pro class, and a whole shitload of them at NIUM when the kids are racing, and a few NESX championships. But it's not about that. It's about you guys are thinking about giving up on yourself, or you think it's over, or you're not sure what you're doing. You can come back. Sometimes our biggest setbacks are the cornerstones that we rebuild our lives on. They become the bedrock that we rebuild. The next injury I had was actually this shoulder, dislocated this shoulder pretty badly in a skiing accident, and that was alcohol related too. I was drinking brandy, so like 4 out of my 12 major injuries were alcohol related, which is no coincidence. But screwed this shoulder up. I ended up messing it up at breaking it at Unadilla 3 years ago, but I digress. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. I'd broken my arm one time, roughhousing with some friends on a hillside. This arm right here. I was at my friend's practice track and crashed and snapped this bone completely in half. You could have put a cigarette in between. It was so badly smashed, and that's the same finger attached to the same finger that I'd crushed. I'm a child from the 60s and grew up in the 70s, and back then I played football. There wasn't a lot of they weren't that concerned about concussions. If you had a concussion, it was shake it off and get back out there. So I don't know how many concussions I've had, but quite a few. Hopefully they won't come back to haunt me. Maybe they already have. I don't know. But my worst one was at Mototown in 2006, I think it was, or 2007. It was last race of the season, pro class, and I gated like 4th, passed 3rd and 2nd, and crashed over a triple. And when I went to pick up my bike, somebody landed on me. The last thing I remember was my teeth clacking together, and I was out cold. They black flagged the race, thought I was dead. I was out for 5 minutes. When I came to, I didn't even recognize I didn't recognize Kenny or Taylor, and I was really messed up for a couple weeks. In that accident, I dislocated this shoulder so badly that this humeral head bone was down in the chest cavity, and it wasn't broken when they took the x-rays. It was just severely dislocated. And when they relocated, last thing I remember was 2 big dudes. They knocked me out on the operating table, and 2 big dudes had me on the arm, and they when they popped it back in, it snapped. The humeral head broke, so that really sucked. And I don't know how many of these I said I quit or I'm doing something else, but I always came back to racing. You go to the races, you see your friends having fun, and you get out there and you do it again. And hopefully you don't get hurt. And hopefully you get a little smarter each time. You end up with better riding gear. Now we wear 6D helmets. I've had CTI knee braces. I don't get on a track without CTI knee braces for the last 30 years. We wear the best boots you can buy. When we're racing, you got to have the proper gear. Goggles, gloves, everything. I was racing for a championship. I was winning the points at NEMA in the 450 expert Grand Prix class. And I remember I had Gerald Rothman Jr. behind me and Jimbo. And they were coming, they were catching me, and there was lappers in the way. So I just held it, tapped one around the outside, hit some mud, high side, flew through the air, and shattered this wrist. And if you ever shatter your wrist, I knew it was broken instantly. Look at, like, in the cartoons, it just blew up. It was all crooked and everything. And I don't know if you can see the scar here, but there's a titanium plate, 6 pins, and 6 screws still in here. I haven't had any issues with it since then, thank God, because I know friends that have broke the wrist that I've had. I was doing push-ups on my knuckles 7.5 weeks after I did this, because I had a good surgeon. But the human body is amazing, and how God will heal you. And you got to put your effort in. You got to eat right and exercise and go to the gym and go to the torture chamber. I call it the physical therapy, and all the things they taught me in physical therapy to rebuild your shoulders, all the moves that you do for shoulders, every single one of them that they taught me, I do in the gym. Not every day, but I do shoulders at least twice a week and try to work the body parts that are the weakest from all injuries and keep it strong, keep the muscles holding you together and tendons and everything. And I don't smoke anymore. Almost relapsed last weekend. That's another story, but after a year of not smoking cigars at all, quit on my birthday last year. And last weekend, I don't know what it was. I just had a strong craving. I think of what it was is I worked all weekend and I was just tired, and I was thinking, everybody else has a crutch, people drink and smoke, and my crutch was nicotine and caffeine for a while. And we built a catio for the cats. It's 9 feet long, 6 feet tall, has a roof on it, Took me all day long, like 6 hours after I worked all weekend. And I was just like, man, I'd like a cigar. And thank God the cigar bar I used to go to was closed. And I came to my senses by Monday, but the relapse is never gonna make things better if you get hurt or you're having a bad time. Whatever your crutch was. For me, a relapse today for me is going to Burger King and getting a flame broiled burger, fries, and a real Coke, not a Diet Coke, and smoking a cigar. That'd be a relapse, because the thought of drinking or drugging, just I could never do that again. I saw what it did to my family and friends, and the results were all the same: jail, death, or institutions. So years of football, basketball, baseball, mainly racing motorcycles, hill climbs, motocross, Harris scrambles, arena cross, supercross, multiple road bike crashes. I almost forgot one of my biggest injuries was on this leg, which is taking a freaking whipping. No ACL, third of the cartilage gone, snapped the tib and fib. I smashed it a bunch of times. This ankle right here, you can see this this like a hole right here. There was a screw. They had to screw it back together because a bone was sticking out right here. And on this side, that's why it looks like I have two right feet. I crashed an RZ350 Yamaha when I was 23 years old. That was 1988. That was a serious injury. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I had a road rash on my hands because I was riding without riding gear. A friend of mine said, "Do you want to ride this RZ?" And I was right fresh out of work, had shoes on with no ankle protection. I should have had boots on and a leather jacket and all that, and I probably would have walked away. But it flipped over backwards and landed right on my ankle. And that was a serious, crushed my ankle, basically. And that I thought was the end of my riding career. I was like, I'm all done now. And started drinking a lot. And 88, I was 23, and I ended up in rehab 3 years later at 1991. And I haven't drank or done any drugs since 91, to the grace of God. And a bunch of people that helped me, that were there for me. Because Christy takes such good care of me with all the she pre-cooks all of our meals, and we eat a completely healthy diet. I don't smoke. I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. I take all the vitamins that you're supposed to, and I go see my doctor, and I get blood tests, and because I take care of myself, I'm of sound mind and body. Even though my body's been busted, it heals pretty quickly. They say all the cells in your body replace themselves after a certain amount of time, and I believe that's true, because these major injuries that I have always come back just as good, or at least I think I'm just as good. Tore this bicep right here. That sucked. I was with some employees. We're trying to do a video, and one of the riders didn't get the instructions, and he wouldn't move his bike, so I picked him and his bike up, which was really stupid, KX500, and he dug his bony elbow into my bicep and tore it. That was about 4 years ago. That sucked. I don't really count those kind of injuries. Countless, stitches and stuff like that don't really count. I'm talking bone. For me, injuries are when your bones are broken, because everything else you can pretty much walk off, except for concussions. Who knows what the long-term ramifications of those are? But that's why we buy 60 helmets. I have like 4 60 helmets now, maybe 5. Junior and I swear by them. Trust me, Junior's crash tested them for sure. Another one I had was I was on the 2015 NESC 50 Plus Pro Class Championship against some fast riders from NESC, and I gated third. I wanted to defend the championship, win another one back to back, and I was pretty sure I could. And came around a corner and hit a rock right here and snapped this bone completely in half, like snapped it in half. And I got a cast on, and I did what I see Neville Bradshaw doing right now. I was riding. I had my mechanic wrap up my peg with a duct tape and a rag, and I was riding with the cast on. And I went to the doctor 5 weeks later, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" The cast was all beat to shit. And I said, "Well, I've been riding. It was filthy." And he looked at the x-rays, he goes, "It's not healing at all. You have to give your body time to heal." But I was scared straight at that point. He told me, he goes, "Ken, the bones are going to heal independently. This side will heal, this side will heal, and there'll be no blood going to the lower end of your toe, and that bone will die, and you could lose your foot and have to amputate it." So that was it. I stopped riding for another. Well, that was it for that season, I think. But that's one thing, you got to give your body time to heal. You can't push it. And most injuries will heal in 6 to 8 weeks. Some of them 3 months. It's the mental injury, the mental part of it. I think that's the hardest for us to get over, for sure. I see so many riders that are super talented that get injured, and what do? They go for alcohol and drugs. And they end up on a scary, slippery slope. And I've seen a lot of them die or end up you know, in really bad spots, screwing up their entire life because of alcohol and drugs, because they lose that adrenaline rush of riding. That's why I feel you're much better off riding than you are with alcohol and drugs. That's for sure. It's a much more positive. You just got to control the inner monster that wants to ride at 10 tenths and just back it down to 8 tenths. And like I do now as a vet rider, I never ride more than 8 tenths. I don't try to hook the big triples anymore or any of that. In fact, my last big injury, well, 2017, thought I was going to try to win the NIUM. Of course, I thought I was going to try to win the title. That's all I ever did when I raced. I raced to win, right? So I was at Central Village. I had 9.5 hours on my factory edition 2017.5 KTM 450, and I had a Öhlins forks on it that were set up for me, and I had the stock shock, but the Öhlins didn't come in, so I put a heavier spring on it, and it was all valved wrong. Anyways, I ended up casing a big triple, and I knew as soon as I hit, man, I was done, because I had this like wicked shock go through my back, and I was in intense pain. I got off the bike at the truck, crawled into the back of the van, and got in the fetal position, and I was effed up. I had crushed 3 discs and had to get back surgery. 2 weeks later, I went to see the surgeon, and he's like, I went to see the surgeon that Monday. I went to the hospital Monday, and he's like, well, we could do back surgery, but there's a 20% chance it's not going to work. What the hell do you mean it's not going to work? And am I going to be stuck like this? I can't walk forever? That was pretty scary. Spinal injuries are probably the scariest. And femurs. I've never broken a femur, but I did break my back and F up 3 discs and had to get surgery, and they shaved the 3 discs and all that and blah, blah, blah. But I had a kick-ass back doctor, and my back has been fantastic. I've been really blessed. And a big part of that, again, is exercising. I do 100 sit-ups every time I'm in the gym, and 100 second a plank, and I do a lot of pull-ups, a lot of push-ups, a lot of core, a lot of squats, a lot of core exercises to keep this old 60. I'm going to be 60 in 11 months. So if I want to live any quality of life, I got to take care of the temple. And part of that's sleeping. I got issues with sleeping that I'm working on. I have sleep apnea. So got one of those CPAP machines a couple weeks ago, and I'm trying to get used to that. But I do want to take care of myself, be around for my kids and my grandkids and for Christy and all my friends, and set a good example and let other people know, youngsters watching, that you can be 60 plus and have a phenomenal fun time and live a healthy life, even with all this shit my body's been through, because it heals. Like I said, I've been through a lot of sickness in my life, and had pneumonia when I was a kid, was in a pneumonia tent when I was like 4, and I was prone to getting bronchitis for years after that. But I don't really count that kind of stuff, or getting COVID like I did twice. The first time sucked. It had a really high temperature, and I felt like dog shit for like a week. It was like the worst flu ever. But I consider myself blessed that I feel as good as I do. I usually feel awesome as long as I'm not injured. Because of the proper diet and the no alcohol and drugs, and taking vitamins, and trying not to pollute myself with too much caffeine, energy drinks, and of course no nicotine at all. I never was really a cigarette smoker. About 5 years ago, I started smoking cigars when Kenny and I were at Dilla. I don't know why. I thought it'd be a good idea to get a cigar, and that started off like a 3.5 year rip. Anybody who is prone to alcohol or drug abuse, it can come in many forms. It can come in the form of food. If you stop drinking and drugging, you could eat too much. I did at one point. I was 254 pounds, man. 6'2", 254. I was like kind of heavy. I was strong as hell, but I was heavy. Right now I'm like 218. I feel good at around 215. But food can be misused and abused. And alcohol and drugs come in many forms, as we know. But nothing replaces the natural high of feeling good every time I go to the gym. I've been dragging my ass to the gym lately, like really feeling like shit in the morning because I haven't been sleeping that good. And then walking out of there feeling awesome. The adrenaline, the endorphins, the morning Celsius energy drink, or the second cup of coffee before I go in the gym. I go in there and beat myself up in there for 40 minutes. I walk out. It makes my whole day better. I probably forgot some of the injuries, probably want to forget some of the injuries, but common theme is the same, that you can come back better and things will heal. So if you're a youngster or an oldster like me and you're watching this and you feel like it's over for you, it's not over unless you believe it's over or you say it's over. You don't need to quit racing if life got complicated or you're afraid of getting injured. You don't need to quit riding. Just tone it back to 8 tenths and do it for fun, because let's face it, there's only a few of us that really make any money racing. The rest of us spend money racing and cycling. And the odds of being one of those guys that makes money doing it is really slim. So just do it for fun and love and passion of being out there and hanging out with your friends and camping at the races and the whole scene of being around the motorcycle industry at the big events like Laconia and Americade, Sturgis, Daytona, all the national events. It's a lot of fun. And but don't ride faster than your angels can fly, man. I've lost a few friends to this sport. One in particular, I think about just a second ago, I was at 20 minutes and 24 seconds on this video, and I thought of him, Rob. His race number was 224. He died at Central Village. Sadly, he got out of shape going with the whoops and whiskey throttled right into the trees and ended up in the river. And I don't want to really talk about it, but that really affected us a lot, Junior and myself and his son Ethan. All stopped racing pretty much right around that time for a few years, a couple years anyways with us. We tried going to some races, but it just wasn't the same. So ride within your limits, wear plenty of protective gear, and don't ever mix alcohol and drugs with motorcycles. That's a real stupid thing to do. Honda's right. Stupid hurts. Stupid can ruin your life and the lives of others. 3 of the principles that I've got carved on my stairs over there, or on the back of the stairs, that come to be key when you're trying to recover is hope. Never give up hope and have faith. Hope that you're going to get better and stronger and get back to where you were, in faith that you can heal yourself and God's going to bless you, and have the courage to keep going. Physical integrity, the willingness to put in the work, have some humility. These are all good principles, but have courage to get back out there, man, and do what you love to do. I hope in some way what I've been through in my life encourages you with whatever you're going through to be the best you can be. Take care of yourself and be there for your family and friends, and be a powerful example of what you can do when you focus on the good things in life, and bust your ass, work hard in the gym and at work and at home, and be the best person you can be. No one's told you today I love you all. God bless America.